Israel was created as the instrument to bring about the Battle of Armageddon and the fulfillment of prophecies, where nuclear weapons will be used so that the American citizens and the other people in the world will get down on their knees and beg for no more war. They're going to be told the only way we can guarantee no more war is if we destroy the sovereignty of nations and we come together as one humanity and one world government. And I'm telling you, unless the American people wake up and stop it, the battle of Armageddon will become reality.
That we're going to experience what we've never imagined.
War is just a kiss away, but in this case, a shot away. That's right. Good evening, everybody. It's the one and only Dean Ryan here. Real Deal Media's #1 late night show, World at War. We are back here tonight as we are monitoring so much breaking news. I mean, steam is coming out of my bifocals at this point. There's so much going on. In this particular case, tonight's episode is the gunfight at the border, not the OK Corral, because that's exactly what's happening right now, as predicted by just anybody that can see at this point. But even the great Karnak knew this a long time ago, as I shared with everybody, that the next great war that we're going to be affected by is the one at the border. And I said, when Trump comes back, he's going to be closing and sealing the border. And that's exactly where we are here tonight. We're going to be getting into everything Mexican-American border, as so much discoveries have been taking place in the past 24 hours. Excuse me. I'm choking with just excitement because you might have heard me even put out a little clip last night about 300,000 children have been discovered. 300,000 that the Biden administration claimed to have lost. They didn't know where it was, just like the trillions at the Pentagon. We'll be looking into that. Yes, we will. Not to mention the ICE, Tom Hanman, the Immigration Customs Enforcement is in full throttle. And there are some major governors of major blue states that are going to defend the migrants. Two in particular governors I'm going to share with you about. So we're going to talk about that. I have some major updates on the LA fires. It's exactly what we thought. It's almost a repeat of 2020 and what took place in Nashville. I'll explain. But now somebody found a weapon of war, as we call it, that is causing the fires. Yeah. Yeah, only you can prevent forest fires created by DEWs and military-aged men. Absolutely. So we'll be talking and brushing upon that. You know what I'm saying? FEMA is under scrutiny, and just major real deal politics will be getting into FEMA, the longevity of it all or lack thereof, and major announcements on the income tax. It was just announced, I think, moments ago. Donald Trump will be making his efforts to rid the income tax. Yes, I come with great news here tonight. Yes, it's very rare. It's very rare, and my body's rejecting it. It's that rare. So we'll be talking about that. Lindsey Graham, Miss Lindsey Graham's coming out of the fold out of nowhere. Do a little update with him. And major international news. You might have heard with Colombia. Yes, Colombia is taking a stand. We'll be talking about will Colombia finally take some imports? And I don't mean from the White Mountains, if you know what I'm saying. But yes, I'm talking about the migrants. Big showdown. We'll talk about that. But also major movement over there in the Israeli war with Gaza. As now Palestinians are now returning to the north as part of the peace treaty agreement that will probably be null and void soon. So we'll take a in-depth look into that, and I have to show you a picture when we get there in the second half here tonight, because there's some images that Google Maps has captured over there in the whole Tel Aviv crowd. Don't want to miss that. And plus, we're going to be ending on a underwater volcano off of Oregon now. It could erupt by 2025, scientists warn. So we're going to be doing some real deal wildlife, and some of the critters are going to be affected by that there. So that's a little story towards the end of tonight. Tonight we are broadcasting live on Dean Ryan TV over there on YouTube, as well as the real Dean Ryan over there on Facebook, and yes, the one, the only, the Rumble. And that's the way God made us, isn't it? Let's get started with a few headlines from around the world and in your neck of the bloody woods. Well, it was meant to be, just meant to be this way, wasn't it? Well, let's start with a story we broke last night with a lot of other people, and that is the discovery of 300,000 missing children. Can you believe this? It's almost like, how is this even possible? And the question is, if Trump and the Trump administration discovered this on the fourth day, then what was the Biden administration doing for all these years? How come they couldn't find all these children? If you don't know what I'm talking about, you might have missed the little feature last night. Here's just a little recap of some of the real deal news clips that we're now putting out there to reach the masses.
Frankly, they say the biggest in the history of California. I think, has anything bigger than that happened in the whole country ever? It looks like, I don't want to say what it looks like, but you know what I'm going to say. It looks like something hit it. And we won't talk about what hit it, but it is a bad, bad situation.
And the borders are for, Trump has told me about, and all of this will focus on those missing children, hundreds of thousands of them that we know. And that number has started to already come down, Emily, from 300,000. So they've found about 75 to 80,000 of those kids already. If they can get the list of these guys, 4 full days in office for Trump, if they can get the list of where some of those kids have been, and they've been identifying it, you know, since the election, going after them and trying to find those little ones, what in the world was Biden's administration doing? What was Secretary of Homeland Mayorkas doing when he said to the committees on Capitol Hill, we don't know where those kids are, I'll look into it? No, dude, you obviously had a better way to find them, and you didn't do your job. I can't believe they impeached him and didn't remove him.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. What did Mayorkas know? And when did he know it? Is this why Katie Hobbs, the governor of Arizona, is really lock and step with the cartels, as that's one of the main arteries into this country? We have questions, and we're going to beat the answers out of people as we continue now. So yeah, the missing children, 300,000. What am I talking about here? Because this is an absurd claim, but that's what it's all about now, is the Trump administration has now located thousands of missing children. as investigations have now begun officially. That's absolutely correct. As the Trump people over there had made significant strides in locating tens of thousands of unaccounted migrant children, with nearly 80,000 reportedly found them from a poll, over 320,000 missing from the Biden administration now. Wow, this revelation follows a damning August 2024 report from the Department of Homeland Security's Office Inspector General, which exposed serious lapses of tracking unaccompanied migrant children after the release from federal custody. That's absolutely just stunning. Well, now the DHS report highlighted alarming statistics. Now, get this. 250,000 children were released without being issued notices to appear or placed in removal proceedings, while 32,000 failed to show up to court dates and remain unaccounted for. Now, these children are at heightened risk of trafficking, exploitation, forced labor, the report warned. As you heard there, Fox News anchor Harris Faulkner reported the Trump administration began addressing this issue prior to the election, recovering maybe, they say, a rough estimate of 75 to 80,000 children within the first few days of the Trump's return to office. And she begged the question, what did Secretary Mayorkas know? And why was no action taken unless they're part of the trafficking staff? Of course. They're not looking for traffickers because they are the traffickers. It all makes sense now, all over again. So to close it out, there's the ongoing investigation now for the rest of the 240,000 missing children. And we're not even talking about the ones in Ukraine. That's just at our borders. So when you hear about the separation policies from the children and the parents, and you hear people moaning and bitching about it, why is that, you want to ask? Why are they separating? Because when somebody crosses the border, they bring like 8 children with them. That's not their kids. They're coyotes. They're trafficking. They're smugglers. This is 320,000 across the border. I'll show you a video on this later, but moving on now, as we have so much to get to, as now we're going to get to everything border wars, as the gunfight at the border has now taken place. Yes, it is. But this all started with a little spat Donald Trump got into with the president of Colombia, who did not want to take his migrants back. He said, why do I have to do it? There's New York for that. There's California. There's San Diego. Well, here's a little mainstream urine-soaked logic.
This morning, the White House is claiming victory over Colombia in a showdown over accepting flights of deported Colombian migrants. President Trump had threatened steep tariffs on imports after Colombia's president blocked 2 U.S. military planes from landing over the weekend over the treatment of migrants. A move that could have raised consumer costs for the billions of dollars worth of goods that the U.S. imports from Colombia each year, including crude oil, coffee, and bananas. It comes as border czar Tom Homan joined ICE and DEA agents in Chicago, where officials say they conducted targeted operations.
It's sending a strong signal to the world our border's closed.
Immigration officials say they arrested nearly 1,000 people across the country yesterday, up from 286 on Saturday and 593 Friday. Back in Washington, the Trump cabinet is still taking shape. Former South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem received Senate confirmation on Saturday and will now head the Department of Homeland Security.
Well, what a specimen she is. But we'll get back to her later. And she got confirmed with Pete Hegseth and all that stuff. But yes, the Colombia deal was preceded a lot of what we're talking about now. And what does that entail, you might ask? Well, let me tell you a bit more about it. It's making all the news now. And we certainly love Colombia for many reasons. One of them is coffee. Well, in this case, we have now a new update as the White House says Colombia agrees to take deported migrants after the Trump tariff showdown. Yes, he finally agreed to do it after a little elbow twisting. As now the White House claimed victory in this showdown, they're saying, Colombia, over accepting the flights of deported migrants from the U.S. on Sunday, hours after President Donald Trump threatened steep, and I mean steep, tariffs on imports and other sanctions on a longtime U.S. partner. Yes, partner is the word. That's the operative word. Now, earlier The U.S. president over there, Donald Trump, has now ordered also, if they were not going to comply, this is what the penalty was going to be. Check this out. He ordered visa restrictions on Colombia, 25% tariffs on all Colombian incoming goods, which would be raised to 50% in 1 week. And other retaliatory measures sparked by President Gustavo Petro's decision to reject 2 Colombian-bound U.S. military aircraft carrying migrants, that is, after Petro, the president over there, accused Trump of not treating immigrants with dignity during deportation. Now, it's worth noting Petro also announced retaliatory 25% increase in Colombian tariffs on U.S. goods. Trump said the measure was necessary because Petro's decision jeopardized national security by not taking the migrants back. Well, he's absolutely correct. And what were they going to jack the price up on? What, cocaine? It's already just way expensive, they say. Continuing now, here is now the border wars. Now let's get to this here as the gunfights are just taking place right now in Texas, where Abbott is rolling out. He's rolling out the military. The State National Guard of Texas is at the border in a gunfight, as we suspected it would be now. Well, now a group of Border Patrol agents in Texas now were shot by suspected drug cartel members on the Mexico side of the border. According to a report by, well, it doesn't matter because we all see it, because now there's multiple law enforcement sources within the last hour. Border Patrol agents near Fronton, Texas, were fired upon by Mexican cartels, suspected to be cartel, I should say. Gunmen as a group of illegal aliens were being brought across the river. Yes, the agents returned fire. And you have to see the border too, but the agents returned fire. They missed, they hit some people, and they said the measures are just the beginning. This is just incredible. As you can see, a massive border there. The Texas is now patrolling, the DPS is now patrolling the area and has a drone in the air. You can see Mexican military assets now staging on the other side of the river. They're saying from multiple law enforcement sources, Border Patrol agents are still firing. Now, this incident took place as President Donald Trump's administration kicks into deportation efforts, as we all know. And what is Greg Abbott going to do about this? What is Greg Abbott? Well, here it is. This is straight from Greg Abbott. I'm going to read it to you. He's directed from the governor of Texas. Today, Greg Abbott directed the Texas Military Department to deploy in the Texas Tactical Border Force near the Rio Grande Valley to coordinate with the United States Border Patrol under the Trump administration to secure the border. Force will surge over 400 additional soldiers, as well as C-130s, Chin-Hook helicopters, to join thousands of Texas National Guard soldiers already deployed on the border to collaborate with the U.S. Border Patrol agents and the United States military. Yes, and if you look on the bottom there, back in 23, they apprehended more than 530,800 illegal immigrants, arrested 50,300 men, women, and children in the United States and Canada. So, if you recall, about over a year ago, Biden was trying to force Texas to take all of these migrants. And Greg Abbott said, no, we're not going to take it. No, we're not going to take it no more. We're not going to take it no more. Now, this next story here, this is something out of reality television. As now, Dr. Phil has been riding along, cruising with Tom Honman, the head of the ICE operations over there. And it doesn't take long to bump into a trafficker. Yes, indeed. Check this out as this is something, everybody is getting involved now. All hands on deck to take the country back. Here it is.
TV personality Dr. Phil McGraw joined a targeted immigration and customs enforcement operation in Chicago. shining a spotlight on America's renewed crackdown on high-risk illegal immigrants. The raids, led by border czar Tom Homan, aimed to apprehend high-value targets, including murderers and sex offenders. During the raid, Dr. Phil spoke with one suspect identified as Sam Seda, a Thai national accused of child sex offenses. When asked if he had ever been deported, Seda answered dismissively and gave a vague response about his criminal past. He also claimed his mother is a U.S. citizen, but couldn't confirm whether he himself had legal status. Tom Homan stressed how so-called sanctuary city policies can allow dangerous criminals to remain free, noting how Seda, despite a child sex crime conviction, had been living openly in Chicago. Homan referred to local officials who hamper ICE efforts, arguing they threaten public safety by not partnering with federal law enforcement. Dr. Phil took issue with the narrative of ICE sweeping neighborhoods, saying this mission specifically targeted criminals and alleged terrorists. ICE confirms at least 270 individuals in Chicago alone were on their list to apprehend, many already convicted of serious offenses. Nationally, the agency made 956 arrests during the operation and aims to average over 1,200 daily as part of the new administration's tougher stance on illegal immigration.
Stunning stuff. Pretty stunning stuff. Thank you, Dr. Phil, for all of your just wonderful help here. Let's continue as now we have something else to face. Now, this is a story that is giving me complete vindication. One of our viewers emailed Real Deal Media just the other night about this. Is now a woman had in the eye of the firestorm, the fire tornadoes. Well, she discovered something that we haven't heard about in 5 years, and that is a rocket launcher. Yeah, that's right. I'm talking about a rocket launcher, which we saw when we first started covering the fires. Fox News made the blooper of accidentally showing a rocket coming out of the whole Palisades area, that whole area that's now just no more. And we knew right away it was a combination of a lot of things, but definitely arson, and it's an attack on American soil. Well, check this out. I think this will make sense because we heard about this 5 years ago. I'll explain after. Rockets in the valley.
Nobody's ever probably seen anything like this. No.
So I stayed up all night. They've got license plates on, but it was involving two cars, it looks like, one for sure, a big white Tundra truck that went up there with a heavy muffler. And apparently they said fireworks, but it didn't look right. It wasn't fireworks because I heard that noise, which after doing tons of investigation found out it was a rocket.
So there's the confirmation we've been looking for. They've been using rocket launchers. Now, who are these people using rocket launchers? Could it be the CCP, as in the People's Liberation Army? Yes. Could it be Muslim Brotherhood, as in MI5? Yeah. Could it be Mossad? Well, that's a given. That's a given. These are weapons of war that they've been stashing caches of throughout the country for the past 5 years now. Back in December of 2020, when there was multiple shooters on the loose right before the Nashville bombing, one of the suspects apprehended in San Bernardino County, California, well, they caught him with a rocket launcher and he threw it in a garbage can last minute, but they caught him. So, we're in war here, as just been stating for years now. This is World War III on American soil now. But we have the calluses to fight back now. We can handle the pain, which is going to bring us to some real deal politics. Yes, real deal politics, just the way we like it here. Well, now with all the efforts of the deportations, clearly everybody who's an American is participating in helping tidy up the country. Well, not so fast. Well, now Governor Pritzker defies now the Trump administration, declares local police will defend law-abiding undocumented people right over there in Chicago. Yes, the governor of Illinois, Mr. Pritzker. This is just unbelievable. You have to see it to believe it. But yes, they're going to defend, and you got to hear it with his own mouth, maybe. Well, yes, the J.B. Pritzker warned Trump administration that his local enforcement will defy all mass deportation orders. They're going to stand up for those law-abiding, undocumented people. Yes, this happened just recently at the State of the Union host over there. Dana Bash asked the governor of Illinois, I should say the governor of, every other country but this one and state. Well, she asked him, how are you preparing, particularly if these people do target schools, ICE that is, churches and small businesses, as they are now allowed to do? Well, he said, quote, let me start by being clear that we're talking about violent criminals who have been convicted and who are undocumented. We don't want them in our state. We want them out of our country. We hope they get deported. And if that's who they're picking up, we're all for it. As he giggles, they show up with a warrant. And when you're going to hand over people who are in our prisons or in our jails who fit the description, now what they're also doing, though, it's quite disturbing. If they're going after people who are law-abiding, who are holding down jobs, who have families have been here for decades, well, they got another thing coming. We will protect them with our cops and local law enforcement. I long for the day where Governor Pritzker challenges another gun battle, the federal government. That would be incredible in Chicago. I would love to see that. But wait, there's more now. Katie Hobbs, yes, the woman who never campaigned a day in her life and who was up for the role of Garth in Wayne's World, yes, she's back, and she's saying the same thing. This is just all in line, all in unison. All of these people, just incredible, yes. Well, now Katie Hobbs sparks outrage for refusal to assist. No, she won't. She won't even show up to a debate with Kari Lake. She will absolutely not do it. Well, now she's now sparking outrage. Is now on Friday, just recently over the weekend, Arizona governor, alleged governor, I should say, and president of the Cartels over there announced that she's refusing to assist Trump's administration as immigration custom enforcement agents could arrest illegal aliens in the state. Could. Well, here's what Katie Hobbs says, quote, we're not going to use state resources to go into our communities and round up people that aren't causing harm. No. This is Katie Hobbs said. She's not going to do it. Hobbs' comment drew a swift reaction from many Republicans who see this, the illegal aliens taking advantage of a broken system. Well, despite the claims that ICE agents will arrest innocent adults and children, the administration has made clear that it is targeting the worst of the worst first. Well, ICE agents, just to give you an example, ICE agents have arrested a number of sex offenders. And it's all connected, by the way. This is all connected. You know, not all of these adversaries are all from Mexico. The Colombia, you name it, the whole place. Well, they've arrested a number of child sex offenders, as well as gang members and other criminals amongst the more than 530 illegal immigrants ICE caught just the other day in this mass deportation effort. Now, this is something from Congressman Abe Hamada. Well, he said the following: the Biden administration's disastrous policies are dead under President Trump, but Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs is openly defying the law and the will of the Arizonians by refusing to deport illegal immigrants. This isn't leadership, it's reckless lawlessness. So there it is. I mean, everybody can see this for what it is and what it isn't. Now, it's worth noting that the head of ICE, Tom Homan, he said that if anybody gets in the way of a legal arrest and operation, even if they're a governor, they'll handle them accordingly. And I hope they do, because people need to be handled accordingly, especially this bimbo right there. Continuing now. There's just too much. So little time. Well, speaking of just winning, well, now Trump has revoked his security details for former advisor Pompeo, Michael Bolton, and also Dr. Frankenstein himself. Yes, he did. Let me tell you a bit more about it now. As President Donald Trump revoked the Secret Service protection now from his former advisor Mike Pompeo, It was part of this big military drill we're living through. A gentleman named Brian Hook, despite warnings from the Biden administration about ongoing threats from, yes, you guessed it, Iran. Well, the decision to revoke the details of Pompeo and others in the role of Trump's aggressive policies toward Iran comes amid a complex relationship between Trump and his former officials. Gee, you think? Yeah. So, they're all getting revoked. Michael Bolton got he has no security anymore. He was bitching about it. They got to pay for their own security, and they don't want to do that. And that's not something they want to do. So we want to see more revoking. Yeah, so that's some good news. Very rare, very rare. So, continuing now, as Trump revokes, well, an investigation begins. Yes, the new head of the CIA, Mr. Ratcliffe, Director Ratcliffe, that is now opening an investigation into a, quote, possible intentional release of COVID-19 by China. Could be low-hanging fruit. Yes, well, CIA Director John Ratcliffe confirmed Sunday that he's directing the agency to investigate whether COVID-19 was released deliberately by Communist China. Ratcliffe made the remarks in an interview just over the weekend when responding to his public release of a recent CIA report about the virus. Yes, he did. Continuing now, he also said, here's a quote, "It was important for the American people to see the institution like the CIA get off the sidelines and be truthful what our intelligence shows at the same time of protecting us in adversaries like China if they caused or contributed to this." Continuing, he says, "We're going to look into every crevice, every orifice. I've been on the job a couple of days now, and I'm going to look closely at the intelligence that we've already gathered," he said. He also said in closing that we'll get more intelligence as time goes on, but we'll be transparent with the American people about what the intelligence says. Well, thank you, Mr. Ratcliffe. Thank you very much for that. They're going to find out that the reason Biden pardoned Fauci, he didn't just pardon him for, recently. He pardoned him for anything that goes all the way back to 2014. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? The little mass rodent, Fauci, was doing crimes all the way back to 2014 officially, but we know all the way back into the late 70s, early 80s, and he gave us that wonderful classic called AIDS. Fauci. For the son of Mother Teresa, you think he'd be a little bit more holy, don't you think? He's continuing now with all of the real political news as now Trump backers Tom Cotton and Lindsey Graham have now broken with Donald Trump on nixing security for ex-officials. They don't like that. They're saying this is not the time to do it because they'll be in the crosshairs of Iran. You don't want that. Iran's everywhere. Iran's going to replace Russians. Iran's going to be replacing Chinese. They're going to replace the monsters under your bed. Iran is going to be everywhere in 2025 now, according to Lindsey Graham. Well, let me tell you about this now, as two prominent Republican senators have split with President Trump over his decision to end government security detail for former officials who are in Iran's crosshairs. It's too bad. It's too bad that Lindsey Graham couldn't be in the crosshairs, considering he's a cross-dresser and all. But, well, last week, he cut off the funding for security detail for Pompeo, for Bolton, a lot of other people. And people are not happy about it. Well, here's a quote from the head of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Mr. Cotton. Mr. Cotton Candy said, quote, "I would encourage the president to revisit the decision for people who are being targeted by Iran." That's what he said. He also said, changes need to happen for full support. I'd love to show you this. Let me see if I can show you this video here, because we haven't heard from Lindsey Graham in a long time, but this is what they're saying. This is Mr. Tom Cotton, Mr. Cotton Candy. Let's hear how their words, and listen to the fear in the voice and the tone, because the walls are closing in finally. That's right. And that's when we get good. You hear that?
people, Anthony Fauci, Mike Pompeo, Brian Hook, among them, John Bolton, too. The Wall Street Journal editorial board says, pray it won't happen. But what if one of them now gets attacked? If Iran commits violence against any of these men, Mr. Trump won't be able to escape some responsibility.
Yeah, I would encourage the president to revisit the decision for those people who are being targeted by Iran, as the president was targeted for assassination by Iran. As the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, I've reviewed the intelligence in the last few days. The threat to anyone involved in President Trump's strike on Qasem Soleimani is persistent. It's real. Iran is committed to vengeance against all of these people. In fact, the chief of staff of the Office of the Director of National Intelligence agreed with me that if these threats were against him or his family, that he would want security, because the threats are real. There are gaps in our coverage. We don't know what we don't know, and it's better to be safe than sorry, because it's not just about these men who helped President Trump carry out his policy in his first term. It's about their family and friends, innocent bystanders every time they're in public. It's also about the president being able to get good.
All right. He needs to shut up. Mr. Cotton Candy can shut up and rot in hell and get in the back of the bus. Oh, you think about the families. Think about Michael Bolton's family. Think about Pompeo, that large piece of deep state, S-word. I mean, think about this. So he can rot in hell too. So screw Tom Cotton Candy, man. They need to lose all security detail, and we should handle them other ways. I can't say here, but anyways, moving on from that. This is more scrutiny to be shared now. As now FEMA is under scrutiny, and I love to give scrutiny to FEMA. Yes, the federal emergency misfits over there under scrutiny as Trump establishes council to review agency's political bias and inefficiency. Absolutely. That's right. President Trump signed an executive order establishing council to review FEMA's performance after its poor response to Hurricane Helene. The council will evaluate FEMA's efficiency, priorities, competence, with the report due within the next 180 days. Allegations of political bias include FEMA officials instructing employees to avoid helping homeowners with Trump campaign signs. FEMA is also accused of missing funds, over $1 billion spent on programs for incoming migrants instead of a disaster relief. I mean, what kind of logic is that? That's DEI, just next level. Well, North Carolina continues to struggle now with the Hurricane Helene recovery, with thousands still displaced. And FEMA, well, seems to be missing and to no avail. So yes, there will be scrutiny, and those are music in words and to my ears. Well, now Trump administration also has ordered the federal health agencies to halt external communications amid review process. That's right. The Department of Health and Human Services, that used to be best buddies with the WHO, which we're no longer in, and no longer can the CDC, the Center of Deception Controllers, recommend the WHO as reference. In addition to that, the Department of Health and Human Services, that is paving the red carpet as Bobby Kennedy makes his entrance through the side door. Well, now that the federal health agencies are under the Trump administration, they've also been ordered to pause external communications, including scientific reports, website updates, and health advisories to each other. Well, the pause began just days ago and is intended to allow the new administration to establish a review process for public communications. Agency employees must all have documents, communications, all have to bend over and cough to get their physical. Now, the directive is said to be effective until February 1st. So they're trying to gather up all of the crimes of the last 4 to 5 years. That's what they're doing. Then they're ordering, the Trump administration has ordered every federal worker to they're no longer allowed to work at home. This is a major overhaul of life as we know it. And it's long overdue, isn't it? So the Health and Human Services, they're going to be getting their Roto-Rooter and their colonic very soon. Very soon. Next, this one is, this is a story that just right over our head in the political year. The DOJ, get this now, you might have heard of the Bundy Ranch fiasco from a few years back. Well, now the DOJ has just found that the FBI mishandled evidence now in the shooting of Lavoy Finicum during the 2016 Malheur standoff over there in Oregon. That's right. Justice Department Inspector General has identified flaws in FBI's procedures for handling the evidence after an officer-involved shooting over there in 2016, the one that Pete Santilli set Lavoy Finicum up. Yeah, that little rodent from Ohio over there. Yes, the rodent himself got that man killed. He alerted the authorities that they were coming. They were coming. You better shoot. Well, the Inspector General's office released its report Tuesday recommending that the shooting incident policies be updated to address the crime scene management. And now troopers who shot Lavoy Finicum in that just wild case were later cleared of any wrongdoing. Investigators discovered that 2 FBI agents had also fired shots during the incident. Now, the agents were interviewed several times after the shooting, but did not disclose that they had fired their weapons. One agent had subsequently tried for lying, that is, to investigators, but was acquitted by a federal jury. Since the shot killed Finicum was fired over there by the Oregon State police officer, the state and local law enforcement took control of the scene, led the shooting investigation, according to the Inspector General. However, in closing, aerial surveillance footage taken by the FBI plane shortly after shooting occurred showed that the FBI personnel moving around the scene with flashlights, examining the area, and appearing to be picking up objects to scatter the scene from any evidence. So it's still a developing story. There needs to be penance and retribution for that. You know, as far as I'm concerned, we have a hard break coming up right now. When we get back, we have some major stories we have to tackle. We have to get to the Real Deal International, which is, we're going to get a bit more into Colombia there, but also we're going to talk about the ending of foreign aid. What does that look like? And I'm going to show you what the hell Israel is doing. You can hide from the media, but you can't hide from the Google Maps. It's really incredible stuff. And as the Palestinians move back to the north. Anyways, you're watching World at War, the #1 late night show here at Real Deal Media. Don't go. We'll be back after this quick message. That's a Trump 2.0 cell, as you can see there. is officially on. Custom made, custom designed Trump 2.0s. You can even have the luxury of picking a Canadian Trump 2.0. Maybe you want an Australian Trump 2.0. Maybe you want a British Trump 2.0 or the old-fashioned Americana Trump 2.0 with revenge, and a wonderful golf cap to go with it. Yeah, you don't want to miss that. Yeah, just lovely. Thank you very much. Welcome back, everybody. I'm still doing Ryan, cruising with you to midnight and beyond here as the Trump sale, 2.0 sale is still on. All you got to do is go to realdealmedia.tv. Just go to realdealmedia.tv. Everything's on the front page there. But go to realdealmedia.tv/store. Make sure to use promo code Trump25 for additional savings. And a big thank you to everybody who's donated to keep these broadcasts going. Go to givesendgo.com/real deal go. Thank you. A big thank you to everyone who's done that. And don't forget, be a visionary, debonair, be iconic, not ironic, and a player from the Himalaya, become a night owl. Go to realdealmedia.tv/membership. And you can go on the front page for that as well. Okay, let's get back to business here as we have a lot to talk about with the border. And, you know, some of the pictures coming out of what's happening in the south of Texas, they're just stunning. We have military from all over the country, reserves, you name it. Everyone's going to the southern border right now, which I beg the question, is that going to leave our north border weak? What are some of the incredible pictures coming back to us? Texas DPS tells patrolling the area has a drone in the air and can see Mexican military assets now staging on the other side of the river. Mexican military assets. Does anyone want to take a stab at what that really means, what that entails? Meaning we're going to be in this North and South Vietnamese kind of strategic scenario where you're going to have the North Vietnam, in this case Mexico, being supplied the weapons of war by who? China. China is in Mexico. China's big time in Mexico. Mexico is making a move to become a G7 big time player now with China's help. And I reported to you, it feels like 10 years ago now, about the multiple Chinese nationals that just happened to me in Tijuana, all the way back as far as 2013, who speak fluent Spanish. That's right. They're there. They're waiting, and they can wait a long time. But what are we going to do about it, you might ask? What are we going to do about it? Anyways, let's get back to business. We have a long way to go, a short time to get there, which brings us to some Real Deal International. Yes, Grasshopper. Yes. Well, we're going to continue now with this one here. As now we're going to drift all the way as we take the Concorde all the way back to Colombia, right where we started from. As now, Trump's tough stance convinces Colombia to accept deportees, averts the trade war. What does this mean? Well, this now sets the example. These are some of the things we couldn't graze upon earlier, but it now sets the example of what other countries have to do to get back into the good grace of, well, not just Donald Trump, but the United States. Well, if you take into account that Colombia, along with Panama, have been urging the migrants to come here, assisting, and some say facilitating. Now, this is where I'm getting at. This is a big warning to other nations. The standoff highlights the challenges other countries may face as Trump ramps up his immigration crackdown. Well, Colombia, a major non-NATO ally and one of the U.S.'s closest partners in South America, was forced to back down after realizing the economic consequences of defying Trump's demands. Now, the United States is Colombia's largest trading partner, with bilateral trade totaling, get this, a whopping $33.8 billion in the past year. Well, a 25% tariff on Colombian goods would have devastated key industries, including coffee exports, which support more than 500,000 families. The decisive action sends a clear message to other nations now is that the U.S. will not tolerate defiance on immigration. The president has already threatened similar measures against Mexico and, yes, Canada if they fail to address the illegal immigration and trafficking altogether. That's a little memo from Real International as we continue now to set the tone. Well, now, in addition to that, now there's a 90-day pause on all foreign aid. Absolutely correct. Trump orders a 90-day pause on almost all foreign aid, including the billions being sent to Ukraine, the money laundering. Well, Secretary of State and the king of the bathhouse, Mr. Marco Rubio, Senator Marco Rubio, announced a 90-day freeze on most foreign aid grants, including military assets to Ukraine, with the exceptions for Israel. What a shocker there. Yeah, you just have whatever they want. They have the credit card. They wear your bathrobe, slap you around. Now, well, exceptions for Israel, Egypt, and emergency food aid. Well, how sweet, Marco. Well, the directive, which halts disbursements from already approved programs, has raised concern about the U.S. credibility now, they say, and the freeze's impact on global stability, exposed the government to legal challenges. Now, the freeze comes amid heightened tensions with Russia, sparking questions about the United States' commitment to Ukraine's defense, despite Trump's rhetoric against Russia. Well, Ukrainian officials downplayed the immediate impact, noting some funding has already been transferred, but critics warned that the pause could harm critical initiatives like energy restoration, amongst other things. Now, the sweeping nature of the directive has created uncertainty, many who are close to the matter are saying, affecting not only Ukraine, but also key allies like Jordan, Taiwan, which also said U.S. aid reconstruction programs in limbo, aka CIA. U.S. aid equals CIA. CIA equals U.S. aid. If you say that 9 times in a row. So now, see, Mark Rubio delivering all the pink slips of the bad news and the bearer of it, announced the 90-day freeze is starting now. Can you feel the freeze? I can. Lovely. Wonderful. Now, in other news, as we make the home stretch to the Middle East, well, now is the first official day of the beginning of the peace treaties between Israel and the apartheid state of Palestine. Yes, that's right. Now, Palestinians begin to return to North Gaza as a deal is reached to free 6 hostages. Finally, well, Palestinians have begun returning to North Gaza after Israel said a deal had been reached for Hamas to release 6 hostages this week. Now, the hostages have all been released. Everyone seems to be fully alive and healthy. Well, Hamas released 4 soldiers on Saturday. Israel accused Hamas, though, of breaching the ceasefire deal. Of course they did. Of course. Because this is not what Netanyahu wants. He needs to wag the dog to stay out of jail. And the people of Israel can't see it. They can't see it. And the ones that do it's a very small minority of a percentage of people that live there that see, wait a minute, we live in a totalitarian country, an ethno-state, and we're committing the same thing that was done, 60 years ago. So since the ceasefire deal has now come into force here, they're saying Israel accused Hamas of breaching the ceasefire under which Israeli civilians were to be freed in the first exchange for the release of Palestinian prisoners. Now, since the ceasefire deal came into force, now 7 hostages, just under 300 prisoners to be exact, have now been released. Well, much of the footage you might see out there has now showed thousands of displaced Palestinians walking northwards, having gathered at a military barrier, blocking their progressive 2 days earlier. So yes, they're all going back to the north. And we're talking about over 50,000 Palestinians dead. We're talking about the whole area is flat and it's gone. About 90% of it gone. It doesn't exist anymore. This is exactly what they wanted, and nobody wants to take the Palestinians, and they don't want to leave. Can you, just unbelievable. What if this happened to you? And the whole world had deaf ears upon you. What if in Canada, the Chinese just started kicking people out of their land in Torontos and Albertas, what if that happened? Because they're already there. They already have the protections. What would you do then? Questions I'm often asking other people. So yeah, now it's earlier, just recently, overnight, Donald Trump weighed in on it. He said he wanted Egypt and Jordan to take Palestinians from Gaza, which he described as a demolition site. Yeah, it's gone. Everything's gone. Both Hamas and Palestinian Authority condemned the idea, while Jordan and Egypt have also rejected the proposal. The January ceasefire deal halted the war, which began on October 7th, aka Israel's 9/11, aka self-inflicted wound. There's that one for you. Well, sticking with Israel. Well, this is now, they want to, in times of war, draconian laws come down on the people, on their own citizens who are at war, in honor of, fighting the enemy. Isn't that just how it works? Who remembers the Bush years? Yes. Yeah, Netanyahu and Bush, not much difference there. Now, get this, it's coming out of Natural News. Israel criminalizes dissent. Yeah. Yes, they do. Let me tell you a bit about it now. A new law bans anyone from questioning how Israel handled the October 7th attack. Well, because they're the ones who did it. They're the ones who created and funded Hamas to destroy the PLO. That was Arafat, who they poisoned because there was going to be a peace treaty. So they created this monster, which is Al-Qaeda, Al-Qaeda 2.0. Now, if you talk about that, if you say that in Israel, they come and arrest you. They're saying you're working with the terrorists. Just like Bush said, you're either with us or against us. And then he said, we will not tolerate any of these conspiracies. Well, here's what I'm saying is, now as Netanyahu's grip on the power weakens, Israel enacts an Orwellian law to silence critics to suppress scrutiny of its handling of the self-inflicted wound called October 7th. Yes, they are. Well, Israel's Knesset, the kinetic, that's the political group over there, the Knesset, I can't even speak. What is Latin over there? Jeez. Passed a law criminalizing doubts about the official narrative of the 7th of October with penalties up to 5 years in prison. The law has drawn widespread criticism from free speech advocates who warn it could create a chilling effect on public discourse. Questions persist about Netanyahu's government security failures of October 7th, whether the attack was exploited to justify a devastating war in Gaza. The legislation mirrors Israel's Holocaust denial law, but critics argue it is a tool to shield Netanyahu from accountability as his political support erodes. Good. I hope it erodes right into a curb and you stomp on him. That's right. Now, here's something else I noticed, because all these laws here, now somebody brought this to my attention, is Israel is cleaning out the whole area and they're moving Palestinians everywhere. Well, people are starting to notice, what are they doing in the meanwhile? Well, here's what the IDF seems to be doing. We'll check this out here. So this is a Bet Hanun, that's in that whole Palestinian region. This is from Google Maps, see for yourself. They managed to put a Star of David, it appears, and a crazy game of Hangman, I'm assuming. Yeah. Star of David. So this is what they do. This is an evil regime. And because it's so compartmentalized, you have half the country or whatever, you say that, and they're saying, well, you're with so-and-so. Black and white issues, but yeah, they're still getting the foreign aid. If it is the moral of my story, they're still getting the foreign aid. And if they weren't, there would be no more war. You see, moving on here as I have some more great, incredible things to share with you. As time is dwindling, but not too soon, as we continue into the night here, as Real Deal International tells us. Now, the WHO's top scientist now was linked to corrupt research a researcher involved in bioweapons over there in Wuhan, China. Well, just in the nick of time, we got out of the WHO, didn't we? Well, Jeremy Ferrer, WHO's chief scientific officer, collaborated with Peter Daszak, a researcher under scrutiny for the Corona-Palooza experiments over there in Wuhan. The partnership raises questions about conflicts of interest in the WHO's handling of the COVID-1984 origins investigation. Mr. Jeremy Farr, the scientific officer of the WHO over there, well, he played a key role in suppressing the lab leak theory through influential scientific papers back in 2020. The U.S. government has also initiated a debarment proceedings against one of the founders of the Eco Health Alliance for inadequate oversight. Well, I'll say that one time. Well, now in closing, the WHO's credibility faces renewed scrutiny as ties between its leadership, controversial researchers come to light, and expect to see many other countries pull out of the WHO, just like the United States did, just like the United States. And there is that one. Okay, we just have one last story left, but let's see what people are talking about out there tonight. Talking out there tonight is a lot is going on. A lot is going on here. We have Jan Thompson says, apart from Poland, yeah, we don't know what Poland is doing. Poland is probably going to stay in NATO at this point, aren't they? And yes, make sure to get your membership there. We go to Rumble here. We have, well, here's something is, can't read that one. We have Hammer Time, who never lets me down. Thank you, Hammer Time. There are no more holiday homes, empty, taxes fixed. It is tax season, anyways. But euthanasia in Canada, anyone? Here's another one, last one. We have Belinda Belladonna Brielle. UK does seem extremely bad right now. Yes, it does. It's extremely bad. It seems so about 10 years ago, too. There's that one. Okay. Well, we're just about out of time here as time is proceeding to fleet without me, which is going to lead us to, well, we have to do a wellness check first after this break. Final thought. Yes. Last segment brought to you by Real Deal Media's Ivermectin as we team up with the wellness company. Yes, it is. There's Dr. Ryan in his attire and all. All you got to do is go to twc.health/Dean Ryan. Choose promo code Dean Ryan. And something magical might happen. You'll find out. Okay, my final thought here tonight is we are learning a lot about the border and a lot about the countries that are facilitating the migration problem here in the United States. We can feel it, we can see it, we can read it, we can taste it. The world order of old, the old world order, it has been shaken greatly, that there's no recovery. There's no recovery of the greatest atrocities and monsters of the 20th century who are now fleeting into obscurity and hopefully into a jail cell, if not a ashtray. But we are there, and the world is united in a sense that we want to rid these cancers out of our life, whether it's in our own body or in our own government. So I challenge Governor Pritzker of Illinois. Yes, bring a gunfight. Do it and be on display, just like Netanyahu is. Netanyahu is on full display, and the whole world sees the crimes in real time like never before. So this is a huge, huge watershed moment for Americans. A huge watershed moment. So on that note, I will be back tomorrow with the great Jim Fetzer. We have some things planned this week as the border wars and the gunfight battles continue to accelerate. But until then, I want to thank everybody for sharing a bit of your night here with all of us at Real Deal Media. For Jim, you'll see tomorrow night. I'm Dean Ryan saying, always remember to stay tuned and always stay awake. Good night, everybody.